Lightcolorshadow is back with the third episode of the photography basics. After showing how to get the right exposure and how to use the aperture, we talk this time about the ISO. And to make it clear, this is an acronym, so we do not talk about the ISO. The last setting to get a proper exposure is the ISO. This acronym stands for International Organization for Standardization. In photography, when we say ISO, we talk about, to be very correct, the ISO 5800, Photography Determination of ISO Speed of color negative films for still photography. This standard describes the light sensitivity of film. In the digital format would be exposure index the correct definition. But to make it easy for the user and to build a connection to film cameras, the manufacturers use also ISO as term. The exposure index is equivalent to the ISO, but enough with the theoretical part. The ISO behavior is very specific to the camera. It ain't hard to tell. The more modern the camera is, the better the noise performance. And a full-frame camera will always be better in this discipline than an APS-C camera, because of the bigger sensor. But to go on detail. The ISO setting controls the sensitivity of the sensor. If you want to use a certain aperture and a certain exposure time in weak light conditions, you have to increase the ISO setting. If you increase your ISO, you will take the risk of noise in the final image. This noise will show as colorful pixels. In worst case, you will get an unusable picture because brightness and color deviation getting bigger and bigger. This also causes a loss of sharpness, but as always, it is a question of the situation. You want to freeze a bird in the air during the flight? You will need a short exposure time and high ISO for this task, if you don't have a fast lens. Usually you will take this kind of photo in daylight with a lot of available light. You can bump up the ISO really high to reach a short exposure time because there is enough light and the result will not show this kind of noise like an architecture shot, for instance in the dark with the same high ISO. So what should be considered? If possible, use the lowest ISO setting the camera has to offer. With that I mean the native ISO. There are cameras with an extended ISO range, but these extended ISO values are always modified camera internally, so it would be the best to use the native ISO. That's what the sensor has to offer. With the lowest setting, you will always get the best image quality in terms of sensor noise. But if you go for sport photos and want to freeze motions, you will need higher ISO settings, no matter if you are in bright sunlight or work at overcast weather. So that means, this is my style of working, set up the aperture priority mode in your camera, set up the desired aperture, then set up the ISO for a short exposure time if your motive is moving, and then you can start to take your shots. That is all you need to know to get out of automatic mode of your camera. If your motive is not sharp or just blurry, go for a higher ISO value and try again, because when you double the value, the exposure time is reduced by half. After this explanation, you should got a better understanding for the ISO settings and how it affects a photo. If you also need help with the exposure time and what you can do with the aperture, you can watch my other videos for the exposure time and aperture. That's it so far. If you find this video useful, you can leave a thumb up, and if there are unanswered questions in your mind, you can ask in the comments. For more photography topics, you can visit the Lightcolorshadow.com, where you will also find helpful tips for photography. I hope we see us in one of my next videos, and until then, good light for you, and until next time. Bye bye.